Good afternoon, members. I, Nidhi Singh, Secretary of Center for Audit Quality Committee, on
Good
behalf of the
afternoon,
committee
members.
and the peer review board of the institute, extend a very warm welcome to all our participants for today's webinar on Audit Quality Maturity Model version 2.0. So before we begin, I would like to inform all the participants that this webinar is being conducted jointly by the CAQ committee and the peer review board, and the objective is to familiarize members with audit quality maturity model version 2.0, its implementation, and the benefit it offers in enhancing the quality of audit engagements. So further, I would just like to inform that CA Vishal Doshi ji, who is the chairman of Center for Audit Quality, and Vishnu Agarwal sir, who is chairman of Peer Review Board, would not be able to join us because of a few preoccupancies and unavoidable circumstances. So we are privileged to have with us the speaker of our first session. I'm calling it first before because we have two speakers. Section 1, that is practice management assurance, will be taken by CA Vijay Manyar sir. And the second section, that is on human resource management. And the third one on digital competency. The second and third will be taken by CA Shreya Jain. So let me introduce to you with our first speaker, CA Vijay Manyar sir, who is a fellow chartered accountant with over 4 decades of distinguished professional experience. He currently serves as an independent director and audit committee chairman on the boards of various leading organizations. He has had an illustrious career in leading audits of large listed and multinational companies and brings deep boardroom and audit committee experience. He is presently associated with Baker Tilly ASA as an advisor and mentor, guiding leadership and operations. He has also been actively associated with professional bodies like the Institute of Chartered Accountants, the Bombay Chartered Accountant Society, and also contributed significantly to the profession, including co-authoring key guidance notes on Schedule 3 and Schedule 4 of the Companies Act. He has also supported the Center for Audit Quality Committee in formulating this audit quality maturity model. Then the second speaker who would be taking section 2 and 3 is CA Shreya Jain. She is a fellow chartered accountant with the certifications in forensic audit and fraud detection, INDAS, artificial intelligence, and FEMA. She began her professional journey in the field of audit and assurance during her articleship with Grant Thornton LLP and is now working as a partner with Lunavat & Co. Extensive experience in direct taxation, corporate and non-corporate audits, corporate structuring. She provides strategic consultancy to various corporate and non-corporate entities on taxation and assurance matters. Her area, apart from assurance, is in India's international taxation and adoption of AI. She has also co-authored the book Chartered Accountants Documentation and Compliance for Audits and Review, contributing valuable insights to the profession. So I would like to welcome Manyar sir to take the first section of AQMM, that is practice management assurance, which contributes to 61.67% of the overall weightage of the set model. Over to you, Manyar sir.
Thank you, Nidhi, for your kind words of introduction. Friends, it gives me, first of all, let me thank Center for Audit Quality Committee and the Peer Review Board for inviting me to share my views on this topic. I must tell you that Nidhi has worked extensively on this project. She has been the heart of, and she and Vishal sir, Vishal Doshi sir, both of them have worked extensively on this project, not only, AQMM2, but also the implementation guide. And we have had several rounds of discussion in and around the topics of various topics, the amendments, as well as the implementation guide. Is my slide visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. 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 So let me, jump into directly into, AQMM. So there has been a framework of audit quality by IAASB. And the framework is the idea of the framework for audit quality. The why the audit quality is important. Now let's look at it, let's step back and say why audit quality is important. The reason why audit quality is important because it enhances the trust on the financial statements. And if the financial statements on which our signature is there and it lends credibility, then it is a value add not only to the company but also to the investors, also to the customers, also to the vendors. Anybody dealing with the company gets greater comfort, and it enhances the overall the environment, including the capital markets. And hence, the audit quality is important, like how we go and audit any of the clients. What we look at is what is the internal control in and around the client has instituted. And if the client has instituted good controls in and around all the processes and specific to the main processes, then we as auditors get comfortable with, what is comfortable with the way we do audit. Our nature, extent, and timing of procedures will also, undergo change depending on the internal control at the client's location. It's a separate topic for discussion, but I'm just wanted to give a brief view as to why this audit quality is important, what is the importance of this audit quality, and why the institute has taken effort to come up. Institute would be one of the few, probably the first one, but one of the few ones, if not the first one, to come up with what is expected from us as auditors, number one. And how do we self review ourselves and how do we move to the next level? Because it is all the marking scheme, and we'll see, some of it as to how we can, implement all those process. If I were to see, why this came up, so one is it's a good thing. But from an institute perspective, why there was a need for, this audit quality maturity model? Because in the peer review process, there was a feedback which was there is that technical standards are not followed, number one. Number two was that, we auditors are very good at providing solutions to the clients. However, when it comes to documenting what we did, why we did, we don't do it. And then we move from one engagement to another, providing solutions to the client, but we don't document. So there is a lack of documentation, which is, as against the expectation. And hence, it was important that, audit quality, just think about it as, when you are going and auditing any client, and the client, does not have enough documentation to support how their transactions are moving. How would you get comfortable with that client? So your level of comfort on that client will go down. You'll do more work. You'll do more work. It's all expensive effort, time, money, resources which are there. It is the same thing as far as we are concerned. So the documentation is very important, and that is one area which, even for measuring the audit quality, maturity model, the basis of it also needs to be documented. Next is, something very fundamental. Management reputation letters were not obtained. Now, this is very fundamental because, it enhances our responsibility as auditors. Because management and the client is not taking any responsibility, but we are taking all the responsibilities. There was no written communication with those charged with governance. It is there in auditing standard, but also, if members would recollect, in sometimes in January, NAFRA also came up with the circular on matters to be communicated to those charged with governance. It is nothing, this, then what is there in the auditing standard. NAFRA reaffirmed what is there in our auditing standards, and this particular item was also there in AQMM version 2, which AQMM version 2 has been announced 1 year before the NAFRA announcement. So the what I'm saying is this, those charged with the governance and the NAFRA circular, which created lot of hype, but it is nothing but what is there and what is expected from us as auditors from the auditing standards. Or the whole manual, practice manual was not available. So, keeping that in mind, what was decided is the peer reviewer goes and reviews the practicing units. So why not this project be combined and efficiently? So it is a collaborative project of, peer review board and the Center for Audit Quality Committee, um, even including this particular webinar, which is also the joint effort. So the idea is that creating the whole awareness around the audit quality is to what the practicing unit should be expected to know, what is expected from them, and the peer reviewer is also doing or reviewing items and things which are there, which the practicing units already know. Now let us see what has changed, because this has changed in this past one or little more than 1 year, from version 1 and version 2. So version 1 was, there were certain clauses which were a bit subjective and was difficult to, respond in yes, no, or demonstrate. And I'll come, to few of them when I give, as we move forward. So there was a subjectivity which was involved, and hence in version 2 is tried to limit those subjectivity. Of course subjectivity will continue, but limit those subjectivity. Version 2 has gone into the heart of audit, and that also we'll see as to the checklist and formats and procedures. There has been a change in the basis, and focus is also being given on the non-compliances and the negative marking. Earlier, negative marking was not there. But what is realized is if there is a challenge or any authority is, coming to conclusion that there is a concern on the audit quality, then there has to be a negative marking. It can't be zero. So negative marking has come in, and we'll see those negative marking. Uh, Also, coming to the the tech and digital has been the buzzword. Auditors are expected to use technology not only to be efficient but also to give greater comfort to the stakeholders. So there is a section on digital competency. There is a minimum score of 30% which is required, and the maturity level of each practicing unit is based on the score, and we'll come to see how it works. And it is applicable to firms which submits application come questionnaire on or after April 1, 2025. So now it is already effective. Yeah. Applicability remains the same, so I will not, delve into it. My only concern is that this applicability should have been enhanced. It is restricted to, say, banks, but cooperative banks and multi-state cooperative banks are not involved. But, members would be aware that there have been severe and serious irregularities at cooperative banks. And hence, in my view, not only listed companies, banks, insurance company, but all public interest entities, including entities which are highly leveraged, because they are ultimately taking money from the public or any other institutions. I think those entities should also be covered. but probably it is step by step. Currently, only these three categories are involved. The process is that the practicing unit will evaluate itself. Practicing unit will have all the documentation of the basis of evaluation and scoring. It is all a scoring. So practicing unit will score itself. It's a self-evaluation. So documentation, as I mentioned earlier, is very, very important as to basis on which the practicing unit is scoring, and peer reviewer will come and review. And both these scores will be hosted on institute website along with the peer review certificate. These are the evaluation criteria. As far as there are three sections, as Nidhi mentioned. My section is, I'll restrict my talk to section one, but which is practice management operation. But section two is on human resource management, and section three is on digital competency. Uh, Now let us look at how the marking is. So each of the practicing unit will once. So each of the practicing unit for each of the section. So when it evaluates itself, um, it can maximum it can get 370 marks out of 600 in section 1. Section 2 maximum is 150, and section 3 is minimum, maximum is 80. However, and the way the scoring pattern works is that practicing unit needs to achieve minimum 30% marks to evaluate, to get itself evaluated. And hence the minimum score in section 1 is 101, section 2 is 45, and section 3 is 24. So for example, if, to make a simple example, if practicing unit has minimum scores in each of the section, then it will be called a level 1 form. Level 1 form is 30%, which is 30% minimum score, and less than 50%, it is a level 1 firm, which indicates the firm is in a nascent stage and will have to take immediate steps, upgrade its competency, and or will be left behind. So it's a, though it has got itself evaluated, there is a evaluation which is there, but the practicing unit will have to take immediate steps. But let us take the example of, say, if the practicing unit has out of 600 has got, say, more than 300, say 360 points, correct? So 360 points which will be 60%, it will fall into level 2. However, for each, to evaluate for each of the unit, the section practicing unit must get 30% marks. So if in a section 1 practicing unit says gets less than 111 marks, even though it has got 360 marks, then it will not be able to be eligible to be evaluated, because the minimum scoring is not done. So the minimum scoring of 30% is very, very important. If the practicing unit has got 30%, then depending on the total score to 600, how much ever percentage which is there, the practicing unit will fall in that category. The maximum category is level 4, which is 85 to 100%, which indicates that the firm has made significant adoption of standards and procedures and should focus on optimizing further. And it is not necessary that all firms will have been level 1. The firms may be in level 2 or level 3, but how it moves forward and how it plans to move forward is the one which the practicing unit will have to plan. So long and short, minimum 30% marks is mandatory for each of the section. And after having obtained minimum 30% of the marks, proportionate marks obtained to 600, whichever is the percentage, the firm will fall into that category. Roadmap to move, it's a separate topic by itself, so I'm not covering. But, a lot of money, resources, because, something is not appropriate or something the firm needs to move forward, then there is lot many processes which will have to be tightened depending on the scoring pattern and the areas where there is a need for improvement. Uh, Now let us look at how the marks are obtained, and I'll go step by step. Some of them are obvious, so I'll not delve into it. But if anybody wants any clarifications, they can put it on the chat box or then approach me or Nidhi later, and we'll be happy to clarify. The first is revenue from audit and assurance services. So it says that percentage of revenue from audit and assurance services to the total revenue. And the audit and assurance is in long and short is wherever there is a UDIN requirement that is considered as audit and assurance services. So tax representation, expert witness, compilation of financial statements, all these are not considered as a audit and assurance services. And depending on the percentage of audit and assurance services to the total revenue, higher the percentage, higher will be the marks. It moves from 0 to 5 points. My take is even if the firm has one listed company audit and everything else is a non-audit or assurance, audit quality should achieve and should be the highest priority of the firm, irrespective of the percentage of revenue. What it is forcing, and this is what we've been hearing, is audit only firm. Because if you're audit only firm, then you'll get more marks. There'll be more focus. There'll be less challenge on non-audit services, less confusion, less controversy. But again, that's a separate topic of discussion. The next is, does the firm have forward-looking vision and mission? So this is all for, average for the period. It is one thing is I've missed mentioning, but this is the average for the period. We have to see that. So average is say 3 years period, then it is the 3 years average which will be considered. The next is, does the firm have forward-looking vision and mission statement? Vision statement is what it wants to achieve. Mission statement is how it will achieve. Correct. And in version 1, it was also marking was also on the implementation. But it's very difficult to justify and document how the vision and mission statement has been implemented. So it is only the statement is important. Its implementation is not to be considered in AQMM2. The third is audit manual. So standard on quality control SQC1. It has 6 parameters. And depending on the well-defined policies and procedures in each of the 6 parameters, practicing unit will get 2 marks. In my view, this is the heart of audit quality. However, 12 marks out of 300 is less for the heart of audit quality. However, on the other hand, there are lot many areas within the SQC1 where there is a separate marking, and we'll see those marking as we progress. So, but let me tell you, SQC1 audit manual is the heart of any audit quality. So like when you go and audit, we ask client, is आपका accounting manual दिखाओ. Correct. And we look at the accounting manual or the process flow chart. Correct. and segregation on duty and everything, the how the transaction moves from, each of the processes. That is the heart of your internal control. In the same way, SQC1 audit manual is the heart of audit quality. The next is on analysis of budget versus actual for uh, so the actual hours versus budgeted hours. So for any engagement, what we plan, we should have budget and compare that budget with the actual. And this is actually the way we calculate, at the back of our mind. But now we need to demonstrate, and we need to demonstrate at least in on top 20 assurance assignments. So whatever is the revenue from audit and assurance from those clients in past 3 years, and what is the total of those 3 years? Because I'm assuming 3 years is the peer review period, and but if it is less, then consider for that period, what is the top revenue of 20 assurance assignments? So all assurance related assignment per client is consolidated, and which are the clients which is given maximum 20 top 20 revenue accounts. Those accounts, at least on those accounts, whether budget versus actual analysis has been done. Correct. And the marking is also depending on the number of assignments for which analysis is carried out, and it is from 0% to 20. So 0 points to 20 points, depending on the percentage of assignments on which this analysis has been carried out. Mind you, a client which is given suddenly the billing from that client increases in year 3 and comes into the top 20, then the expectation is in year 1 and year 2 also this budget versus actual exercise is expected. It is not only in year 3, because what your practicing unit is presenting is the average of 3 years, and hence this becomes important. The next is, has any advisory been issued by QRB or C&AG and received by the firm or partner of the firm during the review period? See, this is a new point. These are all the new points of the regulatory comments, advisory, or any stricture by the regulators. And we'll see all of them now. Here it is not only yes or no, but if it is yes, means is something is been received, then there is a negative marking. And that negative marking overall will reduce the marking from 600 points. Whatever is the points achieved, this will reduce those points. So first is from QRB, which is Quality Review Board, and C&AG, because C&AG also has the process of evaluating us and then giving comments. So that is there. Then advisory issued by the FRRB, and reviews the financial statements. It's on a suo moto. So pick up the financial statements, read the financial statements, look at the disclosures, look at the accounting treatment, look at the reporting, and if they have any comments, they will also issue those comments to them. Then this is tax audit QRB. So any tax audits are also being done. So it is a negative marking for five for each point. Mind you, this is all 5 is for each point, even for year, but the maximum negative is 25. Similarly, if there is any prima facie opinion, correct, where the firm has been held guilty by director discipline on a complaint or the reference made by FRRB, TAQ, RB, PRB, Peer Review Board, QRB, C&AG, or any other government a body other than NAFRA, then it is 10 points. So for each. So if it is any comment has been made, then there is a negative 10 points for each, subject to maximum of 50. However, if NAFRA has made any comment to the extent of debarment, blacklisting, and communication has been received during the review period, then it is 50 for each. So if the NAFRA has made two partners, blacklisted two partners, then it is 100. But if it is given, debarred three partners, then the maximum is also 100. And we had a lot of discussion as to how do we deal with it. So the conclusion is that all these reports, including the next one, all this advisory which has been received in that year, particular year, because that advisory may be pertaining to any prior year. So that is not important. Important is if it is received, say today, if it is received, even if it is pertaining to 4 years before, then it will be considered as received today, and hence negative marking will be for this period, which will be 26, 27. Similarly, has there been any case of professional misconduct on the part of the partner of the firm or the firm where the partner or the firm has proved been guilty under Schedule 3? Then it is 50 for each point, subject to maximum of 100. So there are quite a few negative points which we need to be mindful. And this, as I said, these negative points will bring down the positive points. We need to also achieve 30% in each of the section. Correct. And then after deliberation, this was also mentioned is the total negative marks, because all the regulatory action and comments and negative comments or any advisory combined, the total negative mark can be maximum is 25% of the total score achieved. So, for example, if without considering the negative marking, and the firm gets say 400 points, then the maximum negative points can only be 100. It cannot be more than 100. That is the long and short. So there is a restriction on all this negative marking. The next section around this is the communication with those charged with governance. And as I mentioned, there has been a lot of discussion in and around post NAFRA circular, right from identification of those charged with governance to the communication, the what kind of communication, at what level of communication, what should be included in communication. If you can read that circular and read these simple 4-5 points, practically 80 to 90% of that has been covered. NAFRA circular has been more descriptive. This is only in the bullet form. So what needs to be communicated? So, what is expected, and this is also from the auditing standard, is what are the significant risks? What are the risks and how the auditors is planning to address those significant risks? Because if the risk is there, the risk is not only for the auditors, it is also for the company, it is also for those charged people who are charged with governance. Hence, it is a combined effort. And hence, a lot of times nowadays, audit committee, auditors would ask, there are no fraud which we have identified or which we are aware. But are you aware, as the audit committee, are you aware of any fraud? Because since it is a two-way exercise, the nature, timing, and extent of auditing procedure will undergo a change if there is a fraud. So if there is a significant risk, of nature, timing, and extent of auditing procedure will undergo change. That also is a separate topic of discussion. I just wanted to stress that that is something which is expected to be communicated to those charged with governance. Then all the changes relating to accounting, auditing, and reporting and other regulatory requirements impacting the client. That is also something which needs to be communicated. Key accounting and auditing matters which arose. So, what were the key accounting and auditing matters which arose, and how those were addressed? What are the key audit matters in case of listed companies and other companies where key audit matters are expected to be reported by the auditors? So, what are the key audit matters? The reason why they are selected as key audit matters, and what are the audit procedures undertaken by the auditors? And but last but not the least is significant judgments and estimates um, uh, relied upon by the auditors and its reasonableness. This is also something which needs to be communicated. If it is communicated, then the score range is 0 to 8. The next is on the disclosure to the institute. So there has been, if any client is paying disproportionately large fees. The issue is that our independence gets challenged, and hence there is a requirement that if for audit clients for 2 consecutive years exceed prescribed threshold percentage of more than 40% of the total fees of the firm in case of non-public interest entities and 20% of total fees in case of public interest entities, then it needs to be intimated to the institute. So if it is intimated, then there is no marking. It is a 0 mark. But if it is not intimated, then there is a 20 negative marking. This is also one area where the negative marking has come into play. Then institute has given the minimum recommended scale of fees. Now that adherence, I've been hearing that the adherence is a challenge. However, since institute has recommended, and that is the fee which is expected to be received, by the auditors. So based on the percentage of adherence to statutory for statute, so this is restricted only for statutory or tax audit, and based on the percentage of adherence, the if it is not adhered to, then it is 0. But if it is adhered to, then it could be 25%, depending on the percentage of engagements or where the compliance is there. The next is number of units generated within specified times. Now, institute has given 60 days of time, and this also got into a lot of deliberation. Finally, it got reduced that for the audit quality, for the purpose of audit quality, we need to have a highest level of standards, and hence not on the same day, because there could be practical challenges and constraints. So not on the same day on which the signing is done, but it was then concluded that even if it is UDIN is generated within 2 days of signing, then it is acceptable. So UDIN institute regulation says 60 days, but for audit quality, it is 2 days, right? And if it is there, then practicing unit will get a maximum 30 marks and minimum 0 marks, depending on the number of engagements for which the unit is generated on a timely basis, which is within 2 days. So practicing unit will argue that we have generated within time, so give us marks. But for the audit quality, it is 2 days. I want to reemphasize. The next is on the experience, because one of the thing which is from the client perspective or from the stakeholder perspective, they want experienced assurance partners, and hence one of the area and being experienced, that person would, more the experience would have undergone different experiences, different challenges, and different ways of finding, solution or providing in the report. So that experience is important for the audit quality. And hence, this particular point has been put over here. And depending on the number of years of experience, the points is 2 to 8. For the purpose of calculating the experience, what the implementation guide says that it is the experience as a partner is important. So the person may be partner in the other firm or in the current firm. Both those experiences are important, and that will be considered as total experience. Also, the continuity. So employee being made a partner, that experience is also relevant because there is a continuity. The employee understands. So that experience is also important before employee becomes a partner. However, before partner, that experience for the purpose of counting is considered only 3 years. So if somebody is an intern and becomes a partner in say, 15 years or 10 years with the firm, not all the 10 years or 15 years are considered, but before becoming a partner, immediately before that 3 years can be considered. The next is a whistleblower policy. A lot of times employees are not comfortable, if there is anything illegal or unethical which is being done in the firm, then they are not comfortable, taking it head on with the leadership. And hence, the concept of whistleblower has come in. So something which is anonymous and, anybody is free to, complain through the whistleblower policy. So if it is there, it is encouraged. And if it is there, then one gets 4 points. Otherwise, it's a 0 point. The next is number of branches excluding associate network firms and affiliates. More the branches, one gets more points. So it is from 3 to 12. There is no marks for HO, but more branches are there. Then depending on number of branches, one gets points. As I said, 3 is minimum, 12 is maximum. The next is, has the firm been peer reviewed earlier? See, the issue is that if the firm has been peer reviewed, then there is already firm has achieved some level of maturity. There is a audit quality which is at the acceptable level, and hence it is expected that firm will be able to have a better audit quality. And hence, if the firm has been peer reviewed earlier, then firm will get 2 points for each cycle, subject to maximum 6 points. The next is and this is also something different, that format of checklist templates. So there are some 30 plus forms and checklist and templates. This is actually the heart of the way the audit is being done. And there was a lot of deliberation around what should be included, what should be excluded. And finally, as a committee, this was decided is so many forms are there. I'll run you those forms. And this is the way actually the audit is expected to be done. And what it says is, if there is a form is available. Hello. So if the form is available, the presence of the form, if it is implemented 100% on the top 20 assurance engagement based on billing. So remember, we had looked at budget versus actual for top assurance engagements. The same, assurance engagements, the implementation of these forms, checklists, and templates is encouraged. If it is a presence is there, one. If it is implemented, then it is two. But I will run through it. And This is the maximum point from 0 to 230. And 15th for regular updation. Correct. So the forms also needs to be updated. And let us look at those forms. Um, so client acceptance continuation upon informality, the way we accept the clients, right? So we look at all the areas. So if the form is there, one gets 2 marks for implementation. So if it is available on those 20, then one gets 2 marks, total 3 marks. Then client acceptance, then the engagement acceptance. So client may have been accepted. However, the engagement, whether this engagement can be done as auditors, correct, or something else. So how do we, basis on which there is our independence is not impaired, or basis on which we believe that this can be accepted or that it can be rejected. That form, presence, absence, 3 marks. So implementation is 2 marks, presence is 1 marks. Independence, very, very fundamental, right? Lot of discussion in and around by regulators is on independence of auditors. So independence confirmation and process, not only of the firm, but also for the people of the firm and also for the non-audit services. So if the form is there, then 1 marks, and if it is implemented, 2 marks. Confidentiality undertaking. We've been reading a lot of things specifically for listed companies about confidentiality, right? And UPSI. And there has been a lot of control in and around the regulators have put in. So that confidentiality undertaking, if the form is there, 1 marks, implemented 2 marks. Engagement letter. The committee has also come up with a tool for the engagement letter. However, it a lot of times it has been noticed that engagement letter is not there. So if it is there, form is there, then 1 marks. Implemented on all those 20 engagements, then 5 marks. This is the importance of engagement letter. That all other form implementation get 2 marks, engagement letter gets 5 marks. Scope of planning the scope. When the audit will be done, what kind of resources, number of resources, competencies, experts, all this. How do the planning, what is expected? I think that planning, that is 1 and 2. Budgeting hours, including expert time and cost. So the budgeting preparation, one gets 1 mark, and implementation 2 marks. Understanding client business, its industry, key people. This is the heart of audit. If I were to say what it starts is understanding the client. How do you determine the risk of significant risk and risk of material misstatement? All these items are helpful. Understanding the client, business, industry. If it is listed, then different risk associated, listed, unlisted, leveraged, 100% in export, 100% domestic, high related party transactions, people doing it. So I'm saying all this becomes a groundwork for us to determine what is the risk of material misstatement. So a presence 1, implementation 2. Laws and regulations. If it is listed, then SEBI, LODR, banks, NBFCs, RBI, right? Insurance, telecom, lot of, so what are the applicable laws and regulations? Understanding and implementation 5 months. This is also important because under the applicability of laws and regulation, non-compliance of those laws and regulations could have significant impact on the company. Then understanding the and walkthrough of the process impacting significant accounts. The audit, the actual execution starts. So understanding the process walkthrough, what are how the controls, segregation of duties. Then comes identification of significant risk of material misstatement. All this how, unless the firm has standard methodology to do all this, and hence it is encouraged, and hence these forms are important, right? That and if you see any of the regulatory reports, the focus is on what is the significant risk, fraud risk, risk of material misstatement, and how those has been addressed. If those has been addressed appropriately, then there is not much significant comments given by the regulators, and hence this is a very very important topic, and hence 5 points. Preliminary analytical procedure. This is also one of the planning exercise. Is when we do analytical procedures, so what are the correlations? So say what is a margin or employee cost versus some benchmarks. So how the benchmark, what are the benchmarks, and how those benchmarks have moved, and those financial numbers have moved. Materiality. Uh, Here also the uh, tool is developed by Center for Audit Quality Committee. Is how do you determine materiality? Then what is performance materiality? How it can be calculated? What is the tolerable? So these are all the topic for discussion by itself. But I'm saying the importance of all those topics. And when we say 5 points for the implementation of this, that means these are really really very important. What is a testing strategy? So depending on the risk of material misstatement, the nature, extent, and timing of auditing procedure will undergo change. Team planning, event, and minutes. Right? How the everybody comes together, gives their views, and how the audit strategy is finalized. Allocation of work and time of execution and review. So how the work is allocated, who will execute, and so very complex area senior level will execute, non-complex junior can execute, and who will review, because there has to be maker checker in anything what is being done as auditors. Then what is the outcome of all the testing which has been done. So whether it is IT controls, general controls, application controls, and how one determines the designing strategy of substantive audit. What is the basis of sampling? How the sample is being done? Uh, and this is all will result come into the audit strategy document, where the audit strategy based on all our planning activities will be documented. And also if there are any components, then how the instructions are being given to the components. The next is substantive audit. So once all the planning, then all the substantive auditing procedures which are being done will get recorded. Going concern, very, very important. So what are the procedures to conclude on a going concern? Um, Subsequent event. All this, there has to be a, issue is that all this, there has to be a presence of a checklist or a format on which the people will fill up the form, and then its implementation. So form per se is one gets only 1 mark, but implementation one gets more. Related party transactions, very very important, and hence 5 marks. That how compliance is being done for all the regulations. ICFR, I need not say more about ICFR to this audience, but the importance of ICFR, and hence 5 marks. Journal entries, lot of fraud is unearthed through the journal entries, and this is also one of the fraud items, and how those journal entries are tested. Contingent liability, use of work expert and internal auditor. There is auditing standard on this, How, if we need to rely on the work of expert or internal auditor, then what procedure needs to be done, and how we can rely on them. Secretarial compliances, and all the checklist. So, accounting policy, Schedule 3, CARO, accounting standard, Ind AS, and all the auditing standards. I think this is, um, uh, so this is all so much of detail that if we one goes through this process and does this checklist, of course, there will be initial this, but with the audit manual and this checklist, I think the heart of audit quality is achieved. The next is certificate in accordance with ICA guidance. So if any additional certificate needs to be given, then what kind of certificate, what kind of wording, correct, and how, what level of assurance can be given. EQCR, there is a lot of focus of regulators on EQCR. And if you see NAFRA reports, they've not only held engagement partner responsible, but also EQCR responsible and given them harsh punishment. So the whole EQCR process, management recommendation letter I mentioned earlier, management recommendation, that was one of the basic reason why, this AQMM idea was conceived. Then if there are any differences, then how do you deal with the differences? How those are captured and disposed of? Actual versus budgeted, we have discussed. Final analytical procedure and the archival. So I'm sure, all this is a topic of discussion, each of this checklist. Since this is not the forum for the discussion, I've just given the overview. But in addition to this, if there are any other format checklists which are there, then it is encouraged, and hence there is a 1 mark for presence and 2 marks for this. So the lot of effort which has gone into developing this, one may find it onerous, but that is the requirement of the stakeholder, and and that is the what is we can achieve the this of Indian Big Four. So thank you. I'm not sure. As I said, I always am skeptical whenever something needs to be spoken on a webinar where I can't see anything. So it's all a monologue. But Nidhi, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to respond, number one, or you can capture it and, we can discuss and send the responses later.
Sure, sir. Sure. And so just one small thing I would like to add on for the benefit of our participants, the checklist which you were speaking over here, they can get the formats in one of the publications of AASB Audit Working Paper Templates.
Yeah.
And if the participants view our implementation guide on AQMM, they will be able to see the links of all the necessary publications from where they can get they can prepare basically these checklists, etc. They will have an idea how to prepare the checklist. So it is also equally important to go through the implementation guide of AQMM. If you actually want to implement the things, and you can practically want to keep the things in place, so you can refer to that for getting a detailed understanding of the things. Right. So anyway, sir, thank you. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for your
Thank you.
time and explaining this section 1, which is obviously very important as it carries a weightage of about 61.67%. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Nidhi.
thank
And
you.
thank you on and all the best, Shreya.
Yeah, now I welcome our second speaker, CA Shreya Jain, who will take us through section 2 on human resource management, which carries 25% weightage and 150 marks. Uh, to the overall score of 600, as well as the third section on digital competency, which is equally important and carries a weightage of 13.33% and a total marks of 80 out of the total of 600. So, welcome, Shreya.
Hi. Well, thank you so much. Am I audible
Yeah, you are
and
audible. You
visible?
can, yeah, you can, yeah, you are audible.
Okay, great. Thank you, Manya sir, firstly, for the amazing session. I was there and I wanted to know the section one with you. And at the outset, I'd like to thank the Committee for Audit Quality and Peer Review Board, both the chairpersons, vice chairpersons, the team, Nidhi ma'am, for organizing this very important session that all the audit firms should be well versed with, which is on the audit quality maturity model version 2. So I'll start with it. I have section 2 and
Yes.
section 3 to go about.
Yes. Manyar sir, your PPT is on display, so please remove it so that Shreya can share hers. Thank you, sir.
Yes, is the PPT visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So as we've known, section 1 has covered. I'm going to cover section 2, that is human resource management, and section 3, digital competency. Now, why AQMM? We've covered, I'll just take it very briefly. So, AQMM is not just a scoreboard. It is not just something for you where you have to self-evaluate yourself and see the marks, but also it gives you a platform to improve the firm, the level of the firm. We always imagine, what is it like? What does the top 10 firms do? What does the top 4 firms do? What is it? What is so different about it? So here, AQMM that ICI has given, it has given us a roadmap where we can upskill ourselves, where we can mature our firm and see what all we can do to improve at the level that we are. So we can evaluate the maturity, identify the gaps, drive the consistency, because consistency leads to greater maturity of the audit quality. Who must comply? Been covered. Sir has already mentioned. Listed entities, banks, insurance companies via your Form 1. Now, their total 600 points, 61.67 to Section 1, 25% to Section 2, HR Management, and 13.33 to Section 3. So it is 38.33% that is given to Section 2 and 3, which is roughly 40%. We cannot ignore the 40%. Usually in our minds, we always think audit, okay, it is audit standards on auditing. We need to do these certain things and chalo, done. But that is not the case. To become a better firm, to get mature, to have better quality, to reach where we always dream of, having a good firm, a good quality, good audits that we want. Because in today's time, clients also want to see quality in the documentation, the level that the firm holds. And for that, we need the other two legs, and that is people and technology. The eligibility criteria is minimum 30%, friends. So it is not that if you score best, if you score out of 317 section 1, majority, 60%, then also you'll be able to get a level. You'll not be eligible. So 30% in all the 3 sections is the minimum criteria to get a level assigned to your firm. As discussed, 30 to 50% level 1, this is a nascent stage, you need to immediately upgrade yourself. 50 to 70%, which is level 2, there is some progress, yet you need to fine tune yourself. 70% to 85% is level 3, which is a substantial progress. You need to fine tune further. And 85 to 100% is the level 4 form, which is significant adoption, and you need to improve and optimize yourself further. Now, why HR and technology? As we were discussing, let's take an example. So, you have the best technology, the best audit software, but you do not have the right people, the competent people to use the technology. Will you be able to get the high quality, the high audit quality? No, not possible. Now let's take it vice versa. You have the competent people, you have the right people, but you do not have the technology, the adequate technology, the efficient technology that is needed. Yes, you have the right people, but in today's time, technology is very, very important. Without technology, you'll not be able to compete with other firms, you'll not be able to match them. And so, HR and technology both goes hand in hand. So why I'm telling you all this is so that when we're reading the points of AQMM, we don't just consider it as a mere compliance. We need to think beyond compliance and need to understand that all these points which will fetch us marks are indirectly making our firm a level up. The organization's level is going to level up. Section 2. So we'll go with HR management. The overview, it is into the 6 pillars. The first is HR policies. The second is resource planning. Then is the training and development. Then we have employee turnover and compensation. The next is the employee skill set and performance evaluation. First is the HR policies, which is the backbone. We need to always remember that the work that is documented means work is done. So everything that AQMM focuses on, it is on documentation. Just a hearsay on any of the points that the peer reviewer asks, have you done this? And you say yes, will not suffice you and give you more points. It will ask you, where is it? Where is it? So you will have to document each and everything wherever you are self-assessing yourself and giving yourself the points. So I'll side by side go to the AQMM that we have with the ICI and we'll go point-wise. So this is the exact AQMM that I've extracted from the ICI website. And you're going to take this and you're going to self-assess yourself, right? So the first one is that whether the firm has clear roles and responsibilities of the 3 support functions: accounts, admin, IT. You have 1 marks for each, 3. So here you need an HR manual wherein the roles and responsibilities are mentioned for all the support functions. And once you have the HR manual which has, you get the 3 points, right? Next, does the firm have a documented leave policy? Yeah, it is here saying in general, what do we do? Somebody has asked the HR and the process goes like, which is all verbal. You need everything that is in consistency. AQMM wants everything to be in consistency where a policy is there that how many leaves are allowed in a year, and if you have to apply for a leave, what is the chain of the command? How do you have to go? You have softwares in today's time where you can apply for the leave and then the chain of command goes and then your leave is approved. Once you have these systems, your staff, your employees will have to follow it. And once all of this is followed, it is a much more organized form. Everything is not just going haywire. Whatever on call we've taken a leave on the very, very day. This happens. Let's face the reality. A lot of firms in a lot of ways, this still is happening. But we need to change it. And ICI through AQMM is giving us this chance to make the changes. You get 4 points for having this policy. Next, does the firm issue appointment letter to its employees? Appointment letters are still not being issued to the employees. The person comes, you are hired and you sit and the desktop work starts. Just imagine you going to an organization and you're going inside, you get into the desktop and you get the work start. On the other hand, you get into an organization where you get a welcome email, where you get an appointment letter, where there's an induction program. What perspective will you have about the firm? That the firm is so organized. I mean, a very nice firm. It's a top-notch firm. It is a great CA firm. So these are the small factors that is going to change the branding of the firm. that is going to mature your audit firm along with the section 1 that we have. 4 points for the appointment letter. Next, we have the exit interviews for employees. So when the employee is leaving, you need to have a system of the person leaving. The exit interview is being conducted by someone. How is the handover being done? There is a document that you have made. The document contains that the handover has been done to this person, the interview was done to this. So that document is your proof to get the 4 points. Everything needs to be documented. Fifth is about the firm orient new joiners. So this is about the induction, as we were talking, that once an employee enters, there needs to be an induction program where you introduce your firm, that these are the policies, these are the procedures, please look into it. And you have a joining checklist. So once you have the joining checklist, that is the proof that everything has been checked when the person is coming. Nothing is being missed out. You have the new password, you have your email ID, you have the induction program and that joining list, and all of this, all these policies can be a part of your HR manual. And you get 4 points from this. Next is about the complaint register. So here, does the firm have a policy or procedure for clients register their complaints and the speedy disposal? 1 point each. So if you have a register, whether physical or digital, it gives a way for the client to share their displeasure if there is something, and how is the disposal of that complaint being done. You need to have a policy which says that, yes, suppose in a week, this and this partner is going to look after this complaint and this will be resolved. The client feels more welcome. The client feels it is such an organized firm, right? And you get 2 points for this. If there is no such mechanism, 0 point. Next, we have resource planning. So the required documentation that I just discussed along, here it is. You need to have the HR manual. You need to have a training register. You need to have a leave register or the leave policy where the leave register is being there. So you have one documentation. Then you have exit interview records. And then you have the joining checklist, where all the onboard verification is being done for the new hire. Next is resource planning. Now for resource planning, it asks that does the firm employ adequate professionally qualified employees? Now professionally qualified employees include chartered accountants, cost accountants, and company secretaries. All three. So how many do you have? Now here the scoring is not just the total. It is with the ratio to the proprietor or partner. So you need to total your professionally qualified employees, divide it. It's a proprietor 1, then the number of partners. Here AQMM is trying to note that per partner, how much resource do I have? How much professionally qualified employees I have per partner. So when the ratio comes out to be, accordingly you're going to have points. 0, if it is more than 0 to 3, then you get 3 points. Otherwise, more than 3, then you get 6 points. Now, similarly, that was for professionally qualified. Now, here is a total, which includes professionally qualified, semi-qualified, so who are the CA finalists, non-qualified employees. We have BCom, we have MCom, we have commerce graduates who are working for us. So the account staff, right? Along with that, employee for support functions such as HR, admin, IT, and also article assistants. Excluding partners included the entire strength of the firm, and then you divide by the partner. So that is the partner versus the ratio of your entire strength. And according to that, you get your marks. Again, the same marks. Right? Till maximum 6 you get. Now, this is a very important section, training and development. 42 worth points, which is one of the highest weighted sub-areas, is covered here. So 42 points is given on training and development, which means that we need to have competent people to have good quality, good audit quality. So trainings, you can have various trainings, right? So we can have technical update trainings, which is related to our income tax, standards on auditing, GST, the area that you're focusing on, each and everything. You need to have the trainings. You can have trainings on soft skills, how to have the communication with the client, leadership, how to manage your client, and then technology. What digital tools can we add? The existing digital tools that we have, how to audit our or automate our audit. So various types of trainings can be done in an annual year. And trust me, this is worth 42 points, which is one of the highest weighted surveillance. Now let's see how the weightage has been divided. So does the firm have a training policy specifying the number of hours that is training required? So AQMM has mentioned how much number of hours of training is required. It is clearly mentioned that for partners, proprietors, at least 30 hours annual in a year. For professionally qualified, at least 30 hours. And for others, including article assistants, at least 45 hours. So if you have a policy which says that in a year we do the training of the partners, of the professionally qualified and others, 30 hours, and 45 hours, you get 6 points. So you need to have this policy first to get 6 points. Now, how do you get the other points to reach to 42? Mere policy will not get you all the marks. You need to implement. Implementation is the key. So, has the firm implemented number of hours to the partners? It is based on percentage, and this score has to be calculated for each year. Please note. So here you get 6 points on the basis of number of hours of training it's been done to the proprietor or partners. Then number of hours of training as per policy for professionally qualified employees. So if you complete and implement the 30 hours of training in a year to professionally qualified employees, you can get marks maximum up to 12. And the third one is the minimum number of hours if achieved by others, that is other than the professionally qualified, including the article assistants. Then you can get score maximum up to 18. And this 6, 12, 18 will reach up to 42 marks, which is merely on your training and development. So what all you can do when it comes to documentation? You can have an annual calendar where you can have what all trainings do you want to do in the year. You can include article assistants at times to present, which will also upskill themselves. They will also enhance their personality. They will also become better as they are going to become the CAs. We can also have outside experts who can give an expertise on the particular area, on the particular standards that you want, on the audit documentation, on various other trainings. So this is not just points, but also a way to enhance yourself. And the 10 points in this area is, does the firm have a policy and mechanism of appraisal? So if you have an appraisal mechanism basis that has the firm set standards for recruiting the employees. So you need to have a recruitment policy that how are you recruiting your people to get the right people. So on the basis of the knowledge, on the basis of the experience, on the basis of various attributes, you can have bandwidths and the basis you can recruit the people, and this will get you 10 marks. For 10, if you see, it's mentioned clearly, for the presence of the policy, you have 3. For setting standards, you have 3. And for implementation on both, you have 2 each. So policy plus implementation will fetch you 10 marks in this. Next, we have resource turnover and compensation management. High turnover disrupts the audit continuity. There is a huge process of scanning, looking into the candidates, and then turning and then learning and training them and teaching. And after the entire tedious process, you get to know that the person is leaving. It is a painful process, right? So if we start monitoring that why is this high resource turnover, what changes can we bring in? Is there a possibility of we making certain changes that helps our resource being retained and being there with us. So, AQM asks us to firstly measure and monitor what is the ratio. We don't even actually do that. Do we really check that what is the ratio? How many people have actually left? So here ICAI is giving us the chance to look over it, to see that what is the reason, what is the ratio and the reasons behind it. So you need to have a document as an annual document. In this year, what was the employee turnover ratio? And all the people who have left, what are the reasons? And then what are the measures that can be taken to minimize the turnover ratio? And this in totality, after taking the measurement, after taking the measures, and for the policy, you get 8 points. Next we have is the statutory compliance. So this, in the entire section 2 and section 3, only this clause is negative points. Rest we have all positive points. Here you get -1 for each. So if the firm is not compliant with any of the statutory requirements, whether PF, ESI, gratuity, maternity, POSH, and others, but the 5 -5 they've given for 1, 2, 3, and 4 and 5. So here you get -5 if you're not complying with any of the above. Please note. Next we have, does the firm have a practice to celebrate occasions like festivals, annual together, and you get 3 marks. Then, has the firm have an established mechanism to listen to the employees' views and suggestions? How can you do that? You can have email wherein you are setting up a suggestion email where any suggestions that needs to be done from the employees they can give. You can have a suggestion box in the office. You can have suggestion meetings and feedback meetings, feedback forms. There are different ways through which you can hear to what your employees want to say. And also when they feel heard, they want to give more inputs and they feel more part of the firm rather than just working for someone. So in any of these particular formats, you can make them heard and you can look into their suggestions which might work for the betterment of the audit firm. 4 marks for this. Next we have, are the employees of the firm compensated as per the defined approach where salary is mapped to the knowledge and experience? So here they want that there should not be a scattered way that one person is getting salary on some reason, one is getting on some reason. Consistency matters. So you need a defined approach where on the basis of the knowledge and experience, the salary bands are there. And that is how the salaries are being given to the employees. Salary bands and everything. So that you have more consistency. Everybody also feels valued and everybody also knows that they are being given salary on the basis of knowledge and experience, which is very well documented. Again, documentation is the key. 6 points for this. Next is the qualification and skill set of employees. So audit quality depends on having the right people with the right credentials. AQM has been focusing on competent people, on training, on developing, on growing them. Because standards, audit, quality, everything is there in the books. But the quality differs from firm to firm, from engagement to engagement. And a lot is dependent on the people of how are you following the entire process. 2.5 first clause. Does the firm have a policy to encourage chartered accountant employees, including partners, to pursue diploma or certificate courses conducted by ICAI? So there are a lot of courses now being run by ICAI. There are n number of courses. Along with ICAI, there are various other institutes that are giving courses that are beneficial to the each category in which the person is. It can be something for an audit executive, for an audit manager, for a partner. So is the firm really encouraging? Do they have this policy where they encourage them to upskill themselves, to have the real skill set that in today's time is relevant? With this policy, you get 4 marks. Now, the policy will give you 4 marks, but just see, the implementation can give you maximum 24 points. Now, how can it give you 24 points? So this particular is the score that has to be calculated for each year. So here we're talking about 3 years, the 3 years in which the AQM has to be evaluated. So 1 year, you need to see how many partners, how many employees, including the partners, have taken the courses. In the first year, what is the percentage? In the second year, what is the percentage? And in the third year, what is the percentage? You're going to add up all the 3 years score, and the maximum that it can take up to is 24. So you can get 24 points if you are really, if you're really 50% or more of your employees are taking up diploma courses, are going into the courses and upskilling themselves. Next, the last part of the human resource management is the performance evaluation. Structured performance reviews drive accountability, surface development needs, and link individual contributions to firm-wide audit quality objectives. So the effective evaluation cycles are consistent, documented, and tied to measurable KPIs, the key performance indicators that including engagement quality, client feedback, and professional development milestones. Now, let's see how is the marking distributed. So the 2.6 clause 1 says that does the firm have written KPIs for performance evaluation of the employees and partners? So do you have the KPIs in the written format? So what all KPIs in general can we have? So we can have on different categories, different for audit executive, different for manager, different for partner, where we can see that what is the quality of the audit documentation, what is the timeliness of completion of the audit, how is the teamwork, how is the leadership, then how are the deadlines being met, right? Then the partner level, what is the client retention, client development, staff mentoring, attendance. So there are n number of indicators, and you need to have those fixed indicators well written for each employee. And based on those indicators, you're giving them the points, and based on those points, the performance evaluation for the increment, for the salary is being done. And this written KPIs will give you 4 points. Clause 2 says, does it have specific or determined method? As we were discussing, that we need to have one specific method for everybody. So as to know that these are the parameters for which I am being valued. And these parameters, based on the parameters, I will get my increment, I will be valued, I have my career growth in the same form. And if they're well versed with it, they are going to see how many marks I'm getting for attendance. They're going to see how much am I getting for my teamwork, how much I'm getting for completion, how much I'm getting for client attention, how much I'm getting for client communication, for my better behavior. And then once they get the points year on year, they would like to see how much I'm getting, where I can improve. So these are the ways of how you can improve them, how they can also see their growth in the same form. 4 points on this. Then the third is that is there any decided frequency of the evaluation, whether you're going to do it quarterly or 6 monthly or annually. So the policy is going to have this point that what is the periodicity of the performance evaluation, which gives you again 4 points. Now fourth, the last one, that is that are the engagement partners reviewed based on the review results of the engagements of each partner. This again gives you 4 points where the engagement partners are being reviewed, right? So this is a total of 150 points that HR management holds. Next, we have section 3, which is on digital competency. Broadly, I have divided into 6 pillars. It is more in detail, but the 6 pillars that are there are digital identity, that is the professional online presence and brand credibility. Then we have automation, the streamline HR and audit workflows. Next is cyber security, protecting the client and the firm data. In the cloud, the scalable, the accessible infrastructure. The fifth is the business continuity, resilience through backup and recovery. And then the emerging technology. AI, as we all know, it's not emerging, it is very well there. And if you're not using it to the T, then you're somewhere behind. So AI, data analytics, and various advanced tools. So these are the 6 pillars of digital competency. And the first one is digital presence, which is about website, domain and official email, and social media presence. If you may see, then my presentation is also with the help of some AI. So in today's time, AI has come so much into the picture that you should know what data you really want, what do you want to express, and then the creation and everything, the technology can do that. Okay. So firstly is the website, a current well-structured website showcasing what are your services, your team, your thoughts, your vision, your mission. If you remember, there are 2 points that you get in the section 1. So here you can have what is the vision, what is the mission, and where are your locations, what are your regular updates. You can have an upcoming website which gives you a better branding of the firm, which gives you better credibility for the client. Then domain name and official email. So either it can be abc@gmail.com or it can be partner@abcassociates.in. What is more credible? partner@abcassociates.in and not a Gmail one. So you need to have a corporate email ID for better branding, for better reliability. And then social media presence, which is active. You have the professional profiles and updates, regular updates on LinkedIn, on Twitter, to stay engaged and to be available and to be present in the world. So if I see point wise, how is it going? Then let's see. We have 1 mark for if you have a registered domain name, abcassociates.in. You have a registered domain name, you get 1 point. Now, if you have the firm has a registered website, then you have 1 point. So there is a difference. You have a domain name, but your website is under construction. You get 1 point. But you have a domain name and your website is up and running, it is registered, you get 2 points. Then is the website updated on regular basis? As we were just discussing, regular updation also gives you 1 point. Next is, does the firm have a corporate email ID? As we were discussing, and is it available for all the office staff, including article assistants? Now this is important. Do you have a corporate email ID? You get 1 point. But is it available to all the staff or is it available to only departments? So if you have the ID, 1. If you have it available for all the office staff, you get it 1 more point. And do you have it for article assistants? You get 1 more point. And if you do not have, then plainly it's going to be a 0. Otherwise, you get up to 3 points. Next is, does the firm have a social media presence? That is, you're there on LinkedIn, you're there on Instagram, you're there on Twitter. And is there a minimum 1 update posted by the firm in a month? Not that you just have an ID and there is nothing on it. You need to be regular. You need to have a social presence in genuineness, where you are visible to everybody and your firm gets the branding that yes, they are updated. And once you put an update, there is a change. So you get 2 points for it. Next is automation. Automation in HR and workforce management. So digital HR systems and disciplined time recording, what is going to happen? It's going to improve the workforce management. It is going to enhance the productivity. It is going to provide us the reliable data for resource planning and performance evaluation. So here I mentioned broadly attendance management, which is about automated tracking of the attendance that ensures compliance. Then we have some HR management tools and the timesheet management. Let's go into the questions and see how the marking is done. So 3.2 first clause says that is there a biometric or IP address tracking or similar mechanism for attendance? If you have, you get 1 point. So biometric works when you're in the office, you know real-time attendance has been punched in by the biometric. Now, if you're going to an audit place, how do you tell that you've reached? What time are you leaving? These are the practical constraints. Telling over the phone will not give you that reliability and confidence. But if you have the IP address tracking, so if the software is there, wherein which maps you where you are and you punch in that you have entered and when you're leaving, so your real-time attendance has been recorded. So this will give you 1 point. Next is, are there HR tools available for interview management and performance management? So if you have an HR tool for interview management, it is going to take a full circle and going to cover first view posting for vacancies, then you're getting the resumes into it, then you're able to shortlist. Once you're shortlisted, you're able to conduct interviews, you're able to store the HR, the employee records, and also you're able to evaluate the person. And of course, we have covered 1 point before, appointment letter. So the software also issues an appointment letter. So do you have an HR tool like this that manages your interview completely, the process? And second leg, that is the performance management. Do you have an HR tool wherein your performance evaluation can be done? All the KPI indicators are there and you are able to punch in. The senior is able to see and then can evaluate you and give you your points. So here the technology is trying to make HR processes tech enabled so that you don't have to do the same manual work again and again. In an audit firm, where our focus should be more on audit, where our focus should be more on doing the things like that. So if this all is automated, the team is automatically more accustomed, more organized, and they know these are the systems where you don't have to go haywire and everything will be straightforward. So you get 1 point for this. Next is, do the employees and article assistants fill out timesheets regularly? You need to have timesheets, and now for article assistants in ICI, you also have e-diaries. So you have to punch in your e-diaries as well. So you need to see whether your biometric is matching to the monthly sheets that you're doing, and also the same is there in the e-diary. Everything in a way matches. You get 1 point for this. And are the timesheets being verified by the partners? So you fill in the timesheets and the same are being verified by the partners or the HR. 1 point and 2 points you get on this. Yeah, so the 5th point is that are the timesheets being correlated with the attendance to verify any deviations? You get 1 point, as we just discussed. Now, the 6th point is that are the internal workflow and documentation managed on a digital workflow management system? And are there any digitized workflow tools? As you know, in today's time, we have so many softwares for each and everything. Mostly, all of the things can be automated if we really look out for. There are companies doing every small tasks and automating and creating a tool out of it. So one such important software is the workflow tool, wherein you can assign the engagements to your resources. You can also see what all tasks have been assigned and then how many billable hours are there. And then you can review the work as well. So your entire audit process comes into a software where everything is managed and you do not need to ask step by step to your article assistants, to your juniors, and everything goes with the workflow. You will automatically open the software and get to know what is the process of this engagement. Has it reached to this level? Has the goal been achieved? Has the review been done? So then the file can be archived. So here, if you have a workflow documentation like this, you get a point. Next is digital infrastructure and advanced capabilities. Now in this, we have data and storage, where we are going to discuss about the centralized file storage, regular backups, multiple locations in which we have our servers. Then we are going to look into business systems. That is, do we have invoicing softwares? Do we have a CRM? Do we have tools for email? Do we have digital media communication? Then the third one is going to be security and compliance. Where do we have the security for the laptop? Do we have data privacy? Do we have copyright and licenses? What about the personal data protection? And the fourth division that I've done is for the audit innovation. What about the IS audits, audit process automation, but the emerging technologies and the digital talent development? So mature firms integrate these capabilities into a cohesive digital ecosystem. So if you focus on all this, your maturity of the firm will improve and you can go up from the level that you're currently. Let's see how it goes like. So you get 2 points for if there is a centralized file storage system or a server, wherein all the data is not being saved in your own personal laptop or desktop, but the firm has its own central storage or a server in which everything needs to be saved. 2 points for that. Now, are those files being uploaded on regular basis? It shouldn't be like you have it saved, oh, I'll put it on the server, probably this week, probably after a day or two. Because when you have this habit, then there might be a chance of missing it and the data might get lost. Because if it is in your personal laptop, it gets crashed. If it's in a system and you're not able to access it, then there might be loss of your work. But if you have it in a store, a firm storage server, then you can retrieve it. It is much more safer. You get 2 points for that. Next is the backup done for the files uploaded? Now, backup is very, very essential. So, is the backup done? And what is the periodicity of this backup being done? Now, are the documents of the client services stored electronically? So you need to make sure that the documents that you have of the client are now no more in a physical format, but in a digital electronic saved mode, so that you can refer to it, so that the safety of those documents are much more than the physical presence of those documents. And you get 2 points for that. Next is 3.4, clause 1. So is there an application available for invoicing and receivable management? So application for invoicing, where you're able to generate your invoice, you're able to email it to the client, you're able to send reminders to the client, you're able to know that how much payment has been received, and can you give the reminders to them. This is all in the invoicing, and we have various softwares for it, right? Then we have receivable management, where you get to know client-wise how much the client has been billed, how much you've received, what is the outstanding, what is the client aging. All of these reports, all of this will help you know your better cash flows, know your better receivables, what client is in your ABC category, and you'll be able to know your firm much better, which client more to focus on, and where are you presently standing. So these applications are very essential, and one must have it in their form, and you get 1 point for this one. Another one for the same systems, that it gives you reports on the outstanding balance on periodic basis. So the receivable management will give you the outstanding report based on how you want it. Also, it can give you the aging to know that where are you standing and where is the client receivable there. You get 1 point for this. So total 2 points for application on invoicing and receivable management. Next is 3.5, redundancy and continuity. One is all the data being uploaded on the server on daily or periodic basis. So how is the data being uploaded? Is it being done daily, weekly, or on what periodicity? It should be there in the policy. You cannot say to the peer reviewer, yes, it is being done on daily basis, and you get a point. No, where is it? How would you show? You should have logs of it, and the audit logs or the data being upload logs, or there's a policy where it is mentioned that, yeah, the data is being uploaded on the server on daily basis. Is the backup data stored in multiple locations? Now we want multiple locations for reducing the various risks that it can be if it is just at one store. So if you have multiple locations, you get one more point. Is this process of backup automated? It shouldn't be manual. It is not recommended to be manual because manual may have human error. There might be a mischance of not being backup. And so backup being automated, whether it's being done daily, whether it is being done weekly, whether it is being done, I think fortnight. Till then, I think it should be done. What ideally can be done in my view is that you take a daily incremental backup and a weekly full backup. So you are protected, and if there's any loss of data, any accidental deletion, if there's any threat, if there's been anything, you can always retrieve your data and you can have it. Now, are there multiple connections available in case of connectivity issues in one connection? So this is for better productivity, for better efficiency of our work, where we have better multiple connections, we have more internet connections where we can connect, and so our work does not get hampered. We get 1 point for this. Next is laptop and data security. So are the laptops secured through drive encryption so that if any data goes out of your laptop, it cannot be accessed. So there is no unauthorized access. So you have 1 point for that. Now, are there laptops given to employees and articles for official use? If there is, then you get 1 point. You need to have a policy which mentions all these things, that the laptops have this secured through drive encryption. The laptops even given to employees for official use, and what is the process, who gives it, what all take care you have to do, when do you have to give it back. All these are part of the policies that need to be well written beforehand. Now, are all the systems secured through antivirus? You need to have antivirus, firewall, you need to protect your data. Client's information is very, very important. It is confidential. So we as audit firms need to be very careful of securing our data. Then are the systems being updated with the latest security definitions? We get 1 point. Are critical communications secured through digital signatures or passwords? This is all for securing the client information, the confidentiality, and making sure that we have good encryption, firewalls, and there is no risk of malware or phishing attacks or any kind of cyber attacks. Now, the sixth is the access to internet restricted on need-only basis? And the use of data cards is also routed through corporate firewalls or filtering. So here it is a restriction on use of internet so that your data leakage is not there, so that there are no phishing attacks that can be done, and only the legit websites that are there, the articles the employees can use, and they are saved from the fake websites. And when you talk about use of data cards, so if you're using mobile hotspots, if you're using any other way to connect to your laptop to this, so it should all have corporate firewalls so as to protect yourself from malware, antivirus, and other cyber threats. You get 1 point for this. Next is there BYOD, bring your own device policy available? If you have the policy, you get 1 point. So these are all standard operating procedures in which you need to have all these policies. And once you have the policies, even you will get to know that this is the mechanism of how our firm works. And then at the induction program, everybody can go through it and there can be regular updates on the SOPs. Do these devices have an endpoint security applied to the system? So if you have an endpoint security to it, you get 1 point. Now, eighth is there an IT policy available for the firm, and is the policy being read and acknowledged and regularly reiterated to the firm's employees, which is the point. So where we always talk about, first step is having the policy, second is the communication of that policy, third is implementation, and fourth is the reviewing of the policy. You need to review and reiterate to the firms again and again. to this IT policy. You get 1 point. Is there any password policy? 1 point. Does the e-password need to be changed on periodic basis? 1 point. All these part of your policies. Next is copyright and licenses. Are the softwares being used appropriately licensed? Your licensed softwares are not duplicates and not so that your work is legal, so that you are in a better position and you have licensed softwares. So you get 1 point for that. Now, is there a list of licenses along with the expiry date? So you need to have the inventory of all your licenses and you need to know what is the period of the licenses so that your renewal is on time and you have a data sheet of all your renewal of the licenses of the various softwares. Also, if you have licensed softwares, you can have contact to the vendor. There are various benefits when it comes to software being licensed and not the credibility also increases. So all this will give you 2 points. Next is digital media for communication. Is there an internal employee portal available? If there is, you get a 1 point. Now, is the portal also accessible outside the office premises, where you can internally talk and discuss about your work? Now, third is all the data content relating to firms' audit programs, checklists, sample, representation letters, training available and updated on real-time basis? Very important. That the basis of which we are doing the audit, that is our audit program, the various checklists, the representation letters that we are doing, they all need to be updated on real-time basis and they should be there on your server, which is accessible to the field. You get 1 point for that. Is the access to the portal through login ID password so that there is no unauthorized access and the right people has the right access to the particular folders? You get 1 point for that. 3.9, protecting personal data and privacy. So is all the employee related personal HR data in an electronic form that there is no unauthorized access? You get 1 point. Are the social media backgrounds done before recruiting employees? You get 1 point. It can be a part of your joining checklist where you see that, yeah, the social media background check has been done. Now, are the employees formally trained to identify the authenticity of the source while searching for the content? Very important, and also it can be part of your trainings so that the employees know that they need to look at the right source and they do not need to go into the wrong fake websites, and they are being well trained as to how to see whether you can go to not to just Google but to go to the direct websites, whether it is GST, whether it's income tax, MCA, you need to go to various case laws. Then there are various portals wherein you need to pay and then you have your ID passwords and then there you see your case laws rather than just going to the Google and see. So the right source and the authenticity is very important for good audit quality. Fourth is, are the employees, including article assistants, sensitized on the due care to we make sure that the client-specific information during the induction and regular basis. So during the induction program, you need to be careful and it should be registered in everybody's mind that confidential information is there. Client's information is very confidential. You need to have a confidential policy where everybody is signing and agreeing that the data that is there is confidential and is not being leaked, is not being shared unauthorized. You get 1 point. Then the term of usage policy for the usage of your data and assets, 1 point, where what is the prohibition, what is the access, what is allowed, to whom is it allowed, when it comes to your data, when it comes to client information, when it comes to audit documentation, audit working papers, when it comes to data, when it comes to your assets such as laptops, printers, desktops, various other assets. As the firm classified into sensitive and non-sensitive data, can be part of your policies and you get 1 point. All the audit related documents, the client information, the returns, the agreements are all sensitive. Non-sensitive can be the firm profile, it can be the published public reports that are there and the policies that are there. Next, we have 3.10. I have limited time, so I'll just go through it. Has the firm carried out audits relating to IT security journal review? You have 1 point for this. Then, are there any application security and vulnerability audits performed, wherein you are checking about the application softwares that you have, that whether they are up to date, what is their renewal, their access is completely fine, there is no cyber threat. When we talk about vulnerability audits, also checking the network systems, our laptops, our systems, that all are in picture and there is no way of any threat that is coming. 1 point for that. Has the firm obtained any external certifications? You get 1 point. Then, does the firm have a CRM or an email software for client communication? Right? So it's the customer relationship management or an email software wherein you're able to generate your invoice, you're able to communicate and send the invoice, you're able to track, follow up, and then also see where it is and you can talk. So it's a complete client communication management software. 1 point. 3.12 is about the custody of digital assets. So do you have the inventory of the assets? You get 1 point. Then do you have a unique ID of those assets where everybody is there? So that is 1 point. Then are the digital signatures in the custody of the authorized personnel? Again 1 point. And does the firm have an approval system? 1 point for the same, right? Then is 3.13, which is about the availability of the qualified resource pool and talent development. So you need to have AMC. If you have the AMC for the IT support, you get a point. Are there trainings being conducted on digital communication for the firm, for the staff, as to how to communicate via emails, how to communicate via video conferences? There are various sources, whether you're on Teams, whether you're on Zoom, where there is a client portal, then how to formally communicate with all these platforms. A training should be there, which can again be a part of your training calendar. 1 point. Then does the firm sensitize its employees? Cyberbullying, phishing attacks, all these attacks, part of your trainings, and then you can also educate everybody in the firm. Does the firm have an online on-demand learning portal? 1 point. Does the firm subscribe to any digital platforms for the development? You get a point. Then is the staff encouraged to put creative use, and you yourself see what is the repetitive again and again work being done in our office, and you can make your own chatbots, you can make your own small apps in the firm. So the points here is based on the initiative and how creative you're becoming for your own firm, and as per your own custom needs, you're creating certain apps. For example, any kind of statutory due dates, alerts, you're creating an automated robo for yourself. So it is the points here is based on initiative. 1 to 2 initiatives fetches you 2 points, 3 to 4, 3 points, more than 4 initiatives gives you 4 points. 3.14, the level of automation to the audit processes. Does the firm have the process of reviewing the IT controls? You get a point. Does the firm use any application for audit planning? As we discussed before also, where workflow management is there, wherein you can plan your audit, you can assign it to the employees, you can assign tasks, and then you can review and also see how many hours have been budgeted and been done. And also this budgeting hours and all will help you in the section 1, where the sheet has to be prepared for budgeted hours versus the actual hours. Then is the third point, that is, does the firm has automated audit tools for data extraction, sampling, etc. Right? So we have Caseware idea is there. There are various other tools that help you for sampling. Then there are various data analytics tools and various extraction tools. 1. So this is all AQM is doing so as to reduce the human intervention in all these processes. You know, when it comes to sampling, when it comes to data extraction, the softwares are doing much better and better quality for sampling is coming out. So the more you will start using these technologies, the better the quality of the audit is going to be. Also, at the same time, I would like to say that technology does not mean add on everything and every kind of technology. Add the technology that makes your work easier, that makes it simpler, that everybody can do. 5th is, are the audit staff trained on identifying, analyzing the relevant digital evidence pertaining to the audit work? Are the scenarios where clients' core processes are fully automated? Get 1 point. Does the firm use various tools So data analytic tools such as Tableau, such as Power BI, if you're using, you get 1 point. So are any custom apps being made? For here it's given an example of generating engagement letters. Even ICI has that. So it has an Excel tool wherein you just need to punch in the details and the engagement letter will be issued to you. So nowadays ICI is actually ahead and automating and helping in our audit processes a lot. Recently, even for I think for opinion, for a form of opinion also, a new latest tool has been there. So be careful what ICI is also there. There is also materiality calculation document that is there by the ICI. So a lot of initiatives have been taken by ICI to improve our quality of audit and to have a standard base. To not everybody should not have different material, and you have a standard basis through which you're getting the information. The ninth one is, has the firm used and built audit capabilities such as audit management module in SAPs. Tally Prime has a lot of features. It has that exception report and various other features. Nowadays, every other audit management module is bringing in something new to make more reports and for you to analyze your data more and more. You get a point for that. And I think 3.15 is the last one, which is on the adaptation of the advanced and emerging technologies. So are there any mobile apps, APIs for the firm, client, in which all the information pertaining to the firm is available and which is available to its staff? So you have a mobile app or API to update yourself for your branding, for your client to also be aware of the updates that are there. This in totality will improve the firm, the quality, and the branding and the credibility. So the two legs, that is the HR and the technology, will help in mature the firm. So these are the little key takeaways, and that is, please invest in people. The more you invest in people, the more competent people are there, the more your audit quality will improve. Have effective technology, document all the processes, and continuously improve. Thank you. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Shreya, for taking us through the HRM section and the section on digital competency and sparing your time. Friends, I would like to inform you that along with Manyar sir, Shreya was also involved with us in the study group during the formation of this audit quality maturity model. So thank you once again, Shreya. As we conclude for our today's webinar on audit quality maturity model, I sincerely hope that the session provided an insightful learning that as to why we CAQ has created this AQMM, the scoring pattern and the levels which can be assigned to the firms by scoring through this AQMM. And on behalf of CAQC and the peer review board, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished speakers, CA Vijay Manyar sir and CA Shreya Jain, for sharing their knowledge and valuable perspectives. I would also like to convey the apologies of CA Pramod Jain sir, who is Vice Chairman of Center for Audit Quality Committee, and CA Dayanivas Sharma ji, who is Vice Chairman of Peer Review Board, who could not join us today due to their prior professional commitments. They had very much wished to be with us today and had conveyed their best wishes for the success of this webinar. So with this, we bring an end to this session today, and just have a wonderful day ahead today, all the participants. Thank you, Shreya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to the entire team.
Thank you.